Okay, so I have something to say based upon certain issues that have been happening lately that are just getting really, really annoying to me, and it's just mind boggling that we're dealing with this in 2015. Number one, disclaimer before I start this video. I know I look like shit right now. My face is greasy as hell because it's like 105,000 degrees outside and I'm sweaty and I'm gross. So if you're one of those people that's going to bash me for the way I look in the comments, go right ahead. I don't care. It's not going to hurt my feelings. Whatever. So what this topic that I'm speaking on is racism in America. It blows my mind. It actually like mentally hurts to think about this situation that we're in right now, because we have this problem where every race is conflicting currently. Black people are mad because they think the cops are always on their ass. Hispanics are upset because of the illegal immigration stuff. White people are pissed off at everyone, basically, because they keep pulling the race card. You can't say anything as a white person anymore without getting criticized somehow, whether it's in the media or just in general in life, because you're being racist. Asians, I don't know. You don't really hear a lot from them, so we'll just let them go. They stay off the frickin' radar. But for the most part, this issue that we're facing right now is white and black. It's between Caucasians and African Americans. And I honestly don't understand it. I think it is so disappointing that in 2015, we are dealing with an issue that has already been dealt with. Everything that, I mean, for African Americans, everything that you've fought for so long is just going unnoticed now. It's being pushed under the rug, and it's just like everything that was done, everyone that stood up for you, whether it was Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, whoever it was, every person that ever fought for you, you're ruining it based upon your allegations. And I'm not saying it's just you that's ruining it. I mean, you're not specifically trying to go out and ruin it. And I'm not going to put everyone into the same category. There's people out there that don't give two flying fucks about this, whatever. But you need to take some pride as in your race and everything that you fought for. Take some pride in that and understand how further along you are now than you were then. Do I think slavery was right? No. Hell no. I think it was terrible. I've watched all the movies on it. I've educated myself on it. I've seen Roots. I watched all of those movies growing up because my parents chose to educate me so I wouldn't be racist someday. And I was an open thinker and wanted to allow people of other races, creeds, and religion into my life, which I'm very thankful for. But do I think any of that was right? Any oppression of any group of people, whether it's race or religious belief? No, that's never okay. And I know it was hard for your ancestors or, your great-great-grandpa, whoever it was in your family. That was a terrible time. That was not okay. And, I can't apologize for that because I wasn't there. I wasn't involved in that. I wasn't a slave owner. Yes, I'm white. But is it my fault that people 200 years ago decided to enslave you? No, that's not my fault. And I don't respect that. I don't appreciate it. I don't see eye to eye with that. Do I think that's the way it should still be? Fuck no, because that's insane. We might as well just go to become Nazi Germany if that's what we're going to think. And when it comes to everything else, I like the black culture. I have my whole life. I appreciate, the cultural foods of the black community because, yes, they're different. I'm not saying that because you eat fried chicken is blah, 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 whatever. But there's good food that you guys eat. You have good, interesting culture. You're good people. I have no issue with that. But what's happening now is what I have the issue with. It's like anytime something happens to someone that's black, whether you're pulled over, you're talking to anyone, basically, they pull out their camera phone and they start recording it, and every little thing is picked on. It first started with police officers, and police officers being scrutinized for the fact that they were picking on the black community. I watched a video a few months ago, 6 or so months ago, and it was a black guy talking about how driving while black is an issue and how just because you're black, you can get pulled over. And I honestly can see that in some bigger cities and even some smaller conservative cities, how that can happen just because there's that stereotype behind it. What I say is break the stereotype, just like he says. If you continuously, as a cop, if you continuously are pulling the same exact people over and coming up with the same result of they had, an illegal weapon or drugs, or they had a warrant or didn't have a license or didn't have insurance, you're gonna keep pulling those people over because from your experience as an officer, they've done something wrong. And I understand that because I went to the police academy and I was actually an officer for a year in my life. I'm not an officer anymore for a reason because I didn't enjoy that side of life, but that's a whole nother story. But why not break the stereotype? Why just think that they're doing it just solely for the fact of your skin color? Because I feel like that is kind of a far reach to believe that that is the truth. And if it is, don't be breaking the law. You shouldn't be breaking the law anyways. You shouldn't have drugs. You shouldn't have guns, illegal guns at least, or not have a permit for your weapons. You shouldn't be driving without insurance. I mean, these are just simple laws that we were all based, we've grown up around, that we've been told by everyone to obey these laws. That's the country we live in. You have to obey the law. I mean, and once over time you break that stereotype, it's going to stop happening. But you can't expect it to stop happening without breaking the stereotype. Just for an example, when I was in law enforcement, it was in a very small town where there was only white people only. But I had the same issue because, there were certain kids or certain people that would do the same thing over and over and over again. Same people would drive drunk all the time. Same people would always have some kind of illegal weapon. Same people would always be committing domestic violence. You got to break that habit of yourself. And I'm not saying it's the whole race in general. I'm not saying it's just black people in general, because it's not. There's just as many shitty white people, just as many shitty Hispanic people, just as many shitty everyone else. That's just got to differentiate. But at the same time, you're not helping yourselves by claiming a race issue on everything you say. Another aspect of this story, now that you're probably mad that I just said all of that, because most people get mad when you say these kind of things, I honestly believe that this is a tactic that our government is using to divide us. Because yes, race has always been some sort of an issue in this country. We've always dealt with, equal rights, whether it was, for black people, whoever it was for, even women's rights. Back in the day, I wouldn't even be sitting here talking right now because they would have said I was a witch and burned me at the stake for being a free-thinking, open-minded woman. But if you are dumb enough to believe that for the majority of the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, we didn't hear all the time of this stuff on the news being blown up almost every single day. There's a new case of racism, somebody going to jail for it, somebody being sued for it, something is happening. Why did this just happen all of a sudden? And I am a firm believer in the government doing certain things to our society to distract us from other things. And what it's done is it has divided us. Even when it comes to a religious aspect with Islam, there's every time we see somebody walking down the street that's wearing their, religious clothing, with their, their head wrap, but I don't know the exact name for that, I'm sorry. But our government has almost ingrained it into our brain through media to think twice about that person. Think, oh, are they gonna, blow up a car? Are they gonna get into a plane and fly it into a building? Do they have a bomb strapped to them? Which is so bad that we would ever think that way. That's absolutely terrible. But who has instilled that in our mind more than anyone? The government, and the government alone. That's not just something you wake up thinking when you're a child. You would never think any of that stuff. So, and it goes the same for whether it's a black person, Hispanic person, anyone else. The government has put it into our brains. Because when we talk about, the black community, what do we see? They show us the poverty-stricken areas, the areas where there isn't a lot of money, there's not good education. They show us the uneducated people because they want us to believe that's how every single black person in this world is. And that is so wrong. I've met so many educated black people so many educated out of every race. But I mean, if we're solely talking about black people, I've had numerous black friends, and I have no, I mean, they're educated, they're fine to talk to. Do I want to hang out with uneducated people in general, no matter what race they are? No. You don't see me going to hang out with, the Duck Dynasty guys, like, and hang out in a freaking trailer park somewhere and, like, eat bologna sandwiches and mac and cheese because, it's just, we need to stop letting the government divide us, understand what they're doing to us, and come together. Put race aside, put any stereotype aside, forget all of that crap, and stick together, because it's about to get really real if we don't. Because the government, like I've always said, divide and conquer is a thing for a reason. They want to divide us. They want us to see each other differently. They want us secluded off into little groups, because what does that do? It allows them to conquer us, because it's a lot easier to conquer a nation or a group of people if they're all divided and against each other. Because what happens when, let's just say hypothetically, this is really far out there, but let's say it gets so bad where all the black people decide to go to one side of the United States and all the white people decide to go to the other, or just different neighborhoods. We basically segregate ourselves again, because that's the road that we're taking right now, is we're basically going to implement segregation again. So let's say we do that, and the government comes to the black people and says, oh, well, you need to fight the white people and blah, blah, blah. And then they come to the white people and say the same exact thing. It's going to be a lot easier for them to pin us against each other and basically fight their hidden agenda war when we're doing it for them, rather than uniting together and standing against them and saying, no, screw you, we're fighting together. We love each other as a country and as people, and this is what's going to happen. So everyone needs to stop being so close-minded. It's fine, have your own belief, whether it's religion, whatever it is, whatever belief you have. If it's underwater basket weaving is your religious belief, I don't care what it is. Have that, but also be open-minded enough to accept other people into your life. Understand not everyone's bad. Give everyone a chance. Give people the time of day. Let's stop dividing ourselves in this country and start uniting ourselves together so we can finally make some headway. So none of these things that have happened in the past, these civil rights that were fought for, it's not lost. What would be the point of any of those heroic people like Martin Luther King or Malcolm X or anyone, Rosa Parks, what would be the point for any of these people even existing if we just let the government ruin it for us and let us segregate ourselves again? That's just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be pissed off about it. I don't really care. If open-minded thinking scares you and makes you angry, go ahead, comment whatever you want to. It really doesn't affect me or my life, what you have to say. It's my opinion. I like to preach love, happiness, unity, at the same time, realism. So let's get it together, people. It's about time that we change this ourselves, since nobody else is going to do it for us.